You are now tuned in to the Expert Advice for Men podcast. For more information, visit us at www.expertadviceformen.com. And here is your host, Bill Town Bradley.
Hey guys, and welcome to the show. Now you're tuned in to the newest series on the Expert Advice for Men podcast called The Side Hustle Sessions. Today's side hustle is opening a food truck business, and we're interviewing Alisher Bazarov, co-owner of Island Blends Acai food truck in Seattle, Washington. Listen to how Alisher and his business partner grew Island Blends Acai from having no formal culinary training to becoming one of Seattle's most popular food trucks, catering events for Microsoft, Amazon HQ, Starbucks, and many other events and festivals in the area. If you've considered starting a food truck business, but wanted to hear from somebody that knows the struggle, pitfalls, and has come out on top, this is what Side Hustle Sessions is all about. Alisher even offers you to email him personally if you have any questions on starting a food truck business. We couldn't find a more credentialed guest, so without waiting any longer, here is Alisher Bazarov, co-owner of Island Blends Acai in Seattle, Washington. Guys, we've got Alisher Bazarov, co-owner of Island Blends Acai of Seattle, Washington, and he's our guest on our Side Hustle Session series talking about opening a food truck business. Good evening, Alisher. How are you?
Hey, Bradley. What's happening? How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Now, we met about 7-8 years ago now. I mean, it's been a while. Right?
Yeah, it's been it's been a long time.
For those who don't know, Alisher was our kickboxing instructor coach for a while at Marcel Alonso Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Also trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with us. Man, those were the good old days. Catching up with you and watching you grow your business on Instagram, it's amazing. Now, tell our listeners, to better relate to your story, we ask all of our listeners your age. So how old are you, Alisher?
I'm 34.
Excellent. And please tell us about Island Blends Acai. What type of food does Island Blends Acai have to offer, and where are you primarily located?
So our food truck is specializing in, obviously, acai bowls. For those who are not familiar or would say, oh, I've heard about them. Some people call it a smoothie bowl. Some people call it acai bowl. Some people call it acai bowl, which is all incorrect. Kind of funny. And it's acai. So acai is a Brazilian superfruit. It's a berry, slightly bigger than the blueberry, has a ton of nutrients and vitamins and minerals and just good source of nutritional value. And so we get it. That's something that we pride ourselves on. We get the highest quality acai, and we get it in the pulp form. So the trend is a lot of people are not familiar with that. And so they look at it as, oh, it's an ice cream or sorbet. But so acai comes sweetened and acai comes pure. So we use non-sweetened, no fillers, no nothing, but pure pulp. So we serve that. We specialize in fresh fruit smoothies. We obviously get as organic as possible. Obviously, some fruits and veggies don't have to be organic. It's just not necessary. But if we have an option, we get it organically grown. We also specialize in poke bowls. We do traditional Hawaiian. We don't do mainland. No tuna salad, which means corn and bamboo shoots don't belong on the poke bowls for those who know Hawaii.
I've seen those.
So so just the kind of, a slight difference. We marinate our fish. We don't add sauce to the bowl for orders. So our fish comes seasoned, marinated, and we serve rice, fish, few options for a salad, like, seaweed salad and such. And that's about it.
Man, you are making me hungry, bro.
I know. So we also offer kombucha on tap. Also a healthy add-on to your lunch or to any kind of meal. Great probiotic for those. It's not just a hippie drink anymore. We use a local organic brewer out of Bellingham called Kombucha Town. And so we do that. We bring a few varieties of Hawaiian teas. Plant-based teas, no sugar, no filler. We don't use dairy or sugar on the truck, so that's our goal. And basically all of our products that we offer are very healthy, very positive. Just kind of, we're known in the food truck industry as the Seattle super healthy food truck. So
Yeah, and that sounds awesome because you see a lot of things in food trucks and also online about acai and also poke, and it's just a hot trend. And you see a lot of
mhm,
other people, it's just they just try to get the cheapest ingredients. I really appreciate that you really get the quality stuff, the legit
mhm.
stuff. And for people who's never had acai, it's kind of hard to describe. It's almost like a strawberry married a blueberry and made babies, and it kind of acai. I mean, you probably have a different description for acai.
Yeah, I usually tell people you're absolutely right. The trend, especially in Seattle, there's not that many places, and you can find quite a few spots in California, Southern California, where they serve really, really good quality acai. But here in Seattle, unfortunately, it's a rare find. That's why we take a huge pride because our food truck gets invited to yearly Brazil Fest, which is celebration of Brazilian culture, Brazilian people. So we've done it for 2 years in a row. It's actually this weekend on Sunday at Seattle Center, and our truck is one of the hottest vendors at that festival.
That's
So
awesome. That is
we get
right.
invited. We get invited every year, and just to solidify that, Brazilians or Hawaiians would call you out if it's not real. Or I think it's in any culture. You get called out if you're trying to serve a cultural food, but it's not what it is. So people will tell you that's not a real acai, or that's not a real poke bowl, or that's not a real. So we wanted to make sure that if a person from Brazil stopped by our truck and tried our acai bowls, they would say, "Man, this is real."
That's
And
the
so we
legit
have a
stuff.
lot of Brazilians that follow the truck and constant, we call them groupies, food truck groupies that follow our truck 3 to 4 days a week, different locations, because we do serve as real as it gets. 100% pulp, no sugar, no fillers. We blend it on the spot. We top it with pure ingredients. Everything's fresh, and that's just how we do it.
That,
So.
that's awesome. So how long has Island Blends Acai been in business?
Oh man, Island Blends Acai was born. The idea was born in 2016, and so just to kind of give a quick rundown, we were traveling. I took my son into an acai shop in Hawaii, and his first reaction was, "Dad, I really like this." So I asked him a very simple question. Would you eat this, or would you eat a bowl of cereal in the morning? He said, "I would eat this every day if I can." The bell went on. It was like, I wonder. So I looked up. There was really no known places in Seattle that served acai. And if there were, it wasn't really what I was looking for. Yeah, so the idea was born. Me and my longtime friend who I met while I lived in Hawaii, he happens to be a Hawaii native, really loved the idea, really agreed with the idea. He's a huge waterman, very active, always on the water. So fresh, healthy was something that I thought Seattle street food scene was lacking. And that's how it was born.
And I 100% agree. I traveled to Brazil and trained jujitsu out there. And number one, they do take pride in their acai. I mean, like you said, if it's not legit, they'll call you out on it. And you're
Yep.
right. At 2016, there was Jamba Juice that had it, and it was like concentrate, maybe 10%. There wasn't
Yep.
really any legitimate acai bowls in the Seattle area at that time. Now,
Yep.
has your background always been in food service?
No, I had nothing to do with food service. I honestly, people laugh at me when I tell them. I worked for Nordstrom for a long time, and then I started my career in banking. I was in banking for quite some time. I was transitioning and doing really well. I had a very successful banking career. And so as I started moving into money management and looking at opportunities in investment and insurance world, got my license, it just kind of kept progressing and progressing. But I knew deep down in my heart that I had to make a decision because I saw myself working 9 to 5. I also have a training business, personal training business. So jumping between two jobs I barely spend any time with, my kid. At the time, I only had my son. And so I made a quick decision that I need to do something. And when that opportunity kind of popped in the scene, and I quickly thought, and I thought, this is it. And so after the idea was born, we went with it and started developing a business plan and trying to figure it out what and how. But both of us had no clue. We had nothing to do with food truck, no culinary background. I mean, outside of love eating what we serve, but that's about it.
Now,
So
is this a full-time job for you, Island Blends ACA, or is it a side business of yours right now?
no, in 2017, right after we launched the food truck, I quit my job.
So this is all your baby right now.
Yeah, I'm 100% in.
That's awesome.
I went from salary, paid vacation, full medical benefits to absolutely nothing.
Straight up living the entrepreneurial dream, right?
Yeah. So
So how many days do you work on the food truck personally, and how many hours per day, or I would say how many hours per week?
Yeah. Man, it starts from early in the morning, kitchen prep and commissary, receiving fish. So we get our fish fresh. We get fresh loins. We don't do frozen fish. And so picking up fish and doing all that it takes a time. So a lot of our prep, because we do everything fresh. So fruit has to be cut the day of, the morning of. Otherwise, it's not as fresh.
Right. It's all about, sounds like it's all about quality for you guys. No frozen ingredients, nothing like that.
No
That's
frozen
awesome.
ingredients. For us, it's literally the quality has to come first. Especially in a market like Seattle, people tend to choose quality and healthy over, I would say, low priced items, but something that they would be okay with. So quality for us, and making sure that we're staying consistent with producing bowl after bowl comes with the same consistency, same ingredients. Everything has to be perfect. For food trucks, the margin of error is very, 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 very small
compared to a brick and mortar restaurant.
Yeah, simply because we have a very small window of capturing that audience. So people can pop in, they don't know your truck, they're very hesitant to get it. Obviously, some food trucks have to charge a little bit more because of the food cost, and it costs a lot to vend, and there's fees and all of those things involved. So that has to be all kind of interpreted into a price of item. And especially for us, sourcing our ingredients. And sometimes people kind of go, really? You guys charge this much for a poke bowl? But then once they try it, they go, okay, now I understand why. Because the tuna melts in my mouth.
Right. And it's one of those things my wife actually says. She says, hey, if it goes in my body, if it's a sweater, let's save some money. If it's a t-shirt, let's save some money. But if it goes in your body, you're eating it and you're consuming it. Yeah, don't spend on the cheap, especially for raw ingredients. You got to get the good stuff.
Exactly. And for us, it was more so, once again, I tell that all the time, is that we wanted to start the truck so that the families would be comfortable coming out, and kids would be getting anything on the truck and feeling comfortable. Kids can drink kombucha. Kids could have a poke bowl. Kids can have a smoothie, and kids can have an acai bowl. So all of our ingredients, all of our menu items that we offer, child can have, and parents don't have to worry about. Now, obviously, we serve a lot of raw ingredients, a lot of raw powders. Like we offer maca powder, we offer camu powder, we offer spirulina, we offer pea-based protein, so no whey, no soy, bee pollen, organic cacao nibs, organic coconut shavings. So things like that. And we understand that some people have allergies, and when they let us know saying, hey, I'm allergic, obviously we take that into consideration. But a lot more people appreciate watching us making their smoothie and putting kale, spinach, pumpkin seeds, all of those ingredients, and blending them right there on the spot.
All right, you're going to have to open right now. I'm about to go over there, and it sounds so good. Well, now let's talk about the beginning, take you back. So you have this great idea for a food truck. Where did you go for your first information? Did you go online? Did you have a book, some websites? Tell us
No.
about your struggle in the beginning.
So it's kind of with everything. I always look at it and saying, okay, I'm not the only one that just doesn't know. People don't start business just because they know. So I mean, some of them do, but others, they have a great idea and they think that they have a great idea, and so ideas are only as good as an idea.
Right.
So then you have to execute, and that's what makes it into a business. And so we started doing research. We obviously started looking into trucks, try to figure it out. What is the scene all about? So I spent numerous days just literally on the streets, stalking trucks and watching how they would operate and ask questions and go to the trucks and approach trucks and ask them questions about plumbing, electrical. And so we did a lot of the work ourselves.
Would you say it's a pretty welcoming community, the food truck community?
In Seattle, I think yes. We were a new kid on the block, and we became friends with a lot of veteran trucks, with a lot of trucks that established their footprint in Seattle, have a huge history in Seattle. And so we obviously we're kind of the odd kid. We're fresh, raw, we don't cook anything. And so people looked at us kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And plus, we weren't competing. So you can put 20 trucks. Some of them may have similar items, but we were the oddball. And so I always told people, we honestly don't care competition, because there's people that are going to like our food and go towards our food. And there's people that are just going to be like, that's not my cup of tea, or I have no idea what these guys serve, and I'm not about to try it. So, but yeah, we've done a lot of research. We try to figure it out. It took us about 6 to 7 months to kind of figure it out. What are we going to do and how are we going to do? So a lot of time was spent on researching our product. A lot of people blew us off because they were like, who are these people? Or who are these guys? And what are they trying to do that's not big enough for us? So they answered. Now, the cool thing is that 7 months after that, those people were calling us back and try to earn our business.
Right.
And so that was probably some of the most satisfying feeling. It's like, okay, now they see us. Now they see the buzz. Now they see the social media buzz. Okay, these
now
guys
they're on board.
Now they want to be on board.
Exactly.
But we were very strategic. We tested a lot of product. We try to make sure that everything that we have, from acai, from the grade, from the berries, from the poke, from the kombucha, you'd be surprised how many kombuchas we've tried. It all had to be perfect. And we feel lucky to partner up with businesses that we have. Some of the products that we serve on the truck, nobody has them. For example, Shaka tea, a Hawaiian plant-based, 0 sugar, 0 calories, no caffeine tea that is blowing up through Hawaii right now. We've been in contact with those guys for almost 1.5 years, trying to bring them over to offer for people that would like to have a plant-based tea with no sweeteners, no fillers. Finally, we have them on the truck. And just recently, we found out that there's few other, I think one more company that might be bringing that tea on. So it was good. We carry an organic energy drink that's called The Green, very popular through Hawaii. Same thing. They used organic coconut water, white coffee, and tea extract, and pressed kale juice for recovery. But it was created by an athlete and something that just wanted a little kick. No crash, no sugar, no fillers, no junk that nobody knows how to pronounce, and just a little bit of jolt of energy, but clean energy. And that's why they call it The Green. So we have that on the truck. But yeah, we've done a lot of research. We spent a long time putting all of that together.
And there's I had a list of different things to discuss here. As far as just startup costs, you gotta, like you said, figure out the truck. Number one, I don't even know, how do you find a truck? You have restaurant supplies, food supplies, insurance, state fees, city fees, parking fees. Are there any other fees that somebody should know about if they're thinking about starting up a food truck?
That's a great question, because we did know about probably 35% of the fees that you mentioned. And if I knew, I always joked with my partner, we probably wouldn't be starting the truck, because city of Seattle is,
they don't mess around.
I guess, state of Washington is just, let me just kind of run through. A truck could cost you anywhere between 10 to 20,000, depending on the truck. Seattle fees, each location, depending on, you could go through a broker. which is a seattlefoodtruck.com, or you could go through the Department of Transportation. You can file an application. It could take up anywhere between 4 to 6 months for them to approve a street location, but you have to propose to them. You have to send a proposal, measurements, what you're trying to do, where's the street, all of that. That costs. So every day in Seattle, it could cost you anywhere between $100 to $150 to vent on the street.
Really?
Now, there is a limitation. If it's a city street and you're approved, you can only vent from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m.
Really?
So the window
really
is very
small.
short.
Yeah.
So the window is very small. So then you have to go and try to figure it out. Obviously you want to vend longer because you want to stay open longer because you want to make money selling. You can't just sell for an hour and go home. So you have to look for private lots and see if with the private lot, if the owner agrees and you figure it out, some sort of payment or rent, you could be there vending for as long as you want. There's a health department permit that costs you roughly about $1,500 a year for each county.
Wow, for each county. So you're also in Snohomish and King?
Yeah, I'm in Snohomish and King. Snohomish County will cost you roughly about $500 to $600.
Wow.
Now you also have to take into consideration that each county you're in, you have to have a commissary kitchen. So that could cost you about another $1,000 in rent, if not more.
So you can't just open up a truck and say, "Hey, I'm just going to park it in front of the Dairy Queen next door, and I'm going to compete with those guys."
Attention to all the listeners. It's not like the movie, The Chef,
right?
Where the guy goes, finds a truck, tells a friend, "Let's build it out." It does not happen that way. It takes about 6 to 7 months to go through L&I to approve your food truck drawings, your build out, your electrical, your plumbing. So finding a truck could cost you $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
Building out a truck could cost you another $10,000 to $15,000. So between equipment, it's up to you. You can find an old equipment. We chose to go all new, and that cost us another $10,000 to $12,000. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to really do you want to go all in and kind of give it a shot? And yeah, there's a lot of fees. There's a lot of money involved.
Right.
So.
And I would say, like we always say in all of our podcast episodes, talking to different entrepreneurs, make sure you're doing it all the right way. Don't take any shortcuts. It's just not worth it at the end because number one, it's your name and it's your brand. And we can
Absolutely.
tell the way you're doing everything legit. And so that makes me personally, if I'm listening to this, hey, I want to really try these guys out. They're doing it all the right way. I don't want to go to a place that are taking shortcuts on anything. So
absolutely. If anyone's listening and you're a chef, and obviously just because you're a chef doesn't mean that you're a food truck pro. But us being in business for 3 years, we've done it. We've been in the game. The ratio of food trucks that fail is huge. Every year, close to 10 to 15 trucks shut down their business and sell the trucks.
Wow, that's
so
a high bout.
The ratio is really high. But if anybody that's listening, wanting to go that, I always tell them, our doors are open. If you have questions, words of advice, resources, I will be more than happy to help anyone. And we don't charge fees for, advice. So
okay, that's awesome. And we're going to have all of on our show notes, we're going to have all the websites, all your Instagram links, all that good stuff there, your social media platform links. So when you were starting it and you had to fund it, did you self-fund this? Did you go to family and friends, investors?
No, we self-funded our operation. My business partner was a majority stake. He basically funded majority of the operation, and the operation said, "Hey, this is what we're going to do." I'm obviously running the operation and day-to-day business and logistics and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, we did it ourselves. We wanted to make sure that we don't owe anybody anything. And when it comes down to doing it ourselves, we wanted to make sure that we control our business.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. They say when you don't have any investors, it's just all your own money. And you're a small company, you're more nimble. You can make
Yep.
decisions quicker. And
Yep.
it's funny because everybody wants to expand. They want to get bigger. Small business wants to get bigger. But it's funny because bigger business are trying to act smaller. They're trying to do the little things, the more personal touches. So
Yep.
it's nice that you took care of the funding on your own. Now let's rewind this back. It's 2016. You're sitting down with your wife and your family, and you're like, "Hey guys, we're opening up a food truck." How is that
Yeah.
met with your family?
So I told my wife on the trip, I said, listen, we travel to Hawaii every year. So I said, something's going to change this trip. And I pray to God, just give me a sign. Let me know what I need to do. I don't think I'm meant to do this corporate job. I don't want to work for somebody else. And I've always been like that. I've always had my own, I guess, side hustle gigs here and there. And so I wanted to either start a business or get into something where I can build out a business, sacrifice few years, but then the benefit would be the brand will grow or the business would be successful and I get to reap the benefits and spend time with my kids and not worry about dad can only hang out Saturday and Sunday. Monday through Friday, he has to be in the office with some random people. I kind of wanted to make it so. Obviously, that trip to the acai joint with my 3-year-old, at the time he was 3. And so then I told my wife, I was like, I think this is it. We sat down and we talked about it. And she said, I think you should do it. I think it's a great idea.
That's
And I was
great.
like, all right, but that means that I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go 100% and it's not going to be a 50-50. Watching Shark Tank, one of my favorite shows, when they ask you, so do you do something else? And when entrepreneurs say, well, yeah, I'm a doctor on the side, they say, nope, you have to be 100%.
Right.
Otherwise, no one's going to believe you that you really believe in it.
Right.
So, yeah, I left the bank. I told my boss, I said, man, I'm leaving. And he's the guy that really was basically my mentor, my career guy with the financial institution. He said, you will be a great manager. You will be a great area leader. You will be and so I that was the toughest thing, telling him, hey, I got to go. I got to do this. But he was like, power to you. Hopefully you learned a lot of things and I know you'll be successful. And if you ever decide to come back and something doesn't work out, the door's open. So I told my wife and she said, yes. My mom laughed at me.
Your mom, not her mom.
My mom. And I said, hey, we're going to start a food truck. And she goes, oh, that's kind of funny. And then she didn't pay attention to that. And then she was like, after we started, she goes, honey, I didn't think you were serious. I was like, oh no, we're 100%. We're like, that's what we're going to do.
So I was going to mention that first year in, okay? And you mentioned that it wasn't easy sailing and there was, I'm sure, stumbling blocks along the way. And you also talked about your detractors. Tell us just mentally how that made you feel as far as, all these people that you thought you might have support with and that you're saying, hey, I got this new brand and they didn't want to even give you the time of day. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys. I don't believe in other people's opinions. I mean, I do. I value, but everyone's got an opinion. Just the other day, they posted a Hustle magazine and the Business magazine posted a list of people that they were offered a job at things like Instagram before Instagram was big. And they just, they decided not to do it because they thought something else was more beneficial, some other company that doesn't exist now. Now, if they would have stuck, they probably would have been multimillionaires, right? So it's kind of like everybody's got an opinion. There's a lot of people that doubted. There's a lot of people said I was insane, quitting my job, quitting my
benefits.
I just bought a brand new house a year before that, and they're like, "What are you gonna do? Like, how? What do you?" So there's a lot of that, and we sacrificed a lot. Obviously, we knew that we would have to take a cut on certain things and not spend as much and maybe limit our spending and try to figure it out how we can do this, but to build a brand so that we made sure that our household did not suffer. There's a lot of people that said no, but there's on the other side, there's a lot of people that were huge believers in what we're doing and supported us since day one. It's kind of 50-50. There's those who will always say, it's not a good idea. And then there are always those that are like, man, that sounds really good. I wish I I wish I would do that. Or I'm glad you're doing that because I would have never done that.
Right. And
so
how long into it did you feel you were starting to get traction where you're like, all right, this is working out now?
Oh man, to tell you the truth, since day one, our first day in sale, we did over $1,300 in sale. And my business partner thought that we would maybe do like 200. And he's like, I would have been happy if we sold to 20 people. But we had a line and people liked our stuff and they came back and they said, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. And the fact that it's healthy and the fact that you guys are promoting this healthy street food vending and all of this is amazing. So we've always felt that support. We've never had that, man, are we doing this the right way, or are we in the right business? So I think since day one, I mean, obviously it was hard because we had to knock on a lot of doors. A lot of people, they wanted tacos and burgers. Right. And they're like, no, nobody wants fruit bowls for lunch, or raw fish just does not sound appealing. Or some people say, well, what are you going to do when it gets cold? We said, we're still going to sell food. I always said this. I would walk to Jumbo Juice and get a smoothie, protein shake, and all of that in the middle of the winter. Then there's got to be people just like me doing the same thing, that work hard with their fitness, cherish their bodies, try to put right nutrition, try to fuel, try to do the right things so that they can perform to their best ability. And I always believe that there are those that will really value our truck, what we're trying to do. And there were people right off the bat that really said, man, this is amazing. Like, we can have this. We had people that started driving after the truck and chasing us to different locations. And we would see the same people day in and day out. And they were like, man, this is great. And we couldn't believe ourselves because it's not like we tried it. And it's like, okay, let's test it first and see what the market thinks, and then we'll launch a food truck. No, we just launched it. We just launched the food truck. Yeah, it took off. Thank God it did, right? Because otherwise it would have been a flop.
But I think it goes back to what you said in the beginning too. 6 to 7 months of proper preparation. It sounded like you looked at all ways you can fail and shored up all those holes. And now it showed in your success now.
For those who are trying to start a truck or wanting to be in the food industry or food business, there's always that, I don't want to say a myth, because in some ways it is correct. Restaurant failures are probably one of the highest.
I think I read a statistic like 3 years, 2 to 3 years is like the average. Yeah, you could see that in Seattle. Like, you'll see a restaurant that looks like it was hot for 1 second. All of a sudden, that sushi restaurant is now a falafel store, and then that falafel store is now a yogurt shop, and then it just cycles.
and then it turns into a yoga studio.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. Look at how many burger joints Seattle has.
Right.
Look at how many sushi joints. Look at how many udon. I mean, there's just a variety of foods that are there, and I believe that in order for somebody to be successful in this industry, whether it's a food truck or a restaurant, you have to have a niche. You have to have something that makes you stand out. Let's talk about a burger. If you want to be the best burger, you got to be the best burger. You got to figure it out somehow to be that best burger. And so whether you ship your beef from Japan and it's the most expensive beef, but if you can make money selling that most expensive, or you can get it, that's just what you have to do, because the ratio of failures it's way too high.
Yeah, those are some great points. Yeah, I was gonna add to what you were saying is I saw this on the Food Network, and my wife and I totally agree. They say you don't want to go to the restaurant that serves 100 things. You want to go to the restaurant that serves 3 or 4 things very, very well. And that sounds like that's what you guys are doing. You don't have kombucha and French fries and sour cream and nachos.
Yeah,
and asa. You guys do 1 or 2 or 3 things very, very well, and your crowd comes because of that.
Yeah, we just became really good at doing our acai bowls, our blending our smoothies, and serving our poke bowls. And just like I said, we've got 3 poke bowls: classic ahi, spicy ahi, and cold smoked ono. So that's it. That's basically all we do. So we don't We don't have 50 million ingredients. We don't add carrots and fried onions
Yeah, stuff
and
that just
uh,
doesn't
uh,
belong in the
it just doesn't
traditional.
belong. And I tell people all the time, walk in the poke joint in Hawaii and ask them for some corn and some of this. You'll be lucky if you can add an avocado.
Right. Yeah, and it's like asking an Italian person about Hawaiian pizza. Like, there's
Yeah,
no pineapples and Canadian bacon
exactly.
on a
That's a
traditional pizza, right?
that's it. That's a great point. And
Awesome.
so for us, it's very, we're just, this is us, and we're not trying to reinvent anything. We're just trying to be the best at acai bowls, trying to make sure that our smoothies are up to par, and trying to make sure that our poke bowls is exactly what people are paying for. And so for us, that's what we want to be. So we're not trying to do anything crazier. Now, obviously, we add items to our menu ingredients like teas and energy drinks, but that's just something to add so that the people have a variety of, oh, okay, do you guys, for example, we sell boxed water simply because we believe in the mission that boxed water has. Boxed water is better. It's recyclable. We don't have plastic on the truck. All of our items are compostable. So from straws to poke bowls to acai bowls, everything is compostable because we're really believe in an environment. And I think that this year, I think every restaurant should look at themselves and say, hey, we're a huge, huge contributor to a plastic epidemic that we have, that our oceans are getting polluted. Our environment is getting just completely trashed because of this invention called plastic. So we take those things into consideration. And I tell people, hey, boxed water. Why do you guys sell boxed water? Because it's a trend? No, it's not. Because if you hashtag boxed water is better or better planet, boxed water plants 2 trees for every post. So we have partnerships with that has some sort of a meaning to what the company is. Because I believe that every company in 2020 should have some sort of a mission and start contributing somehow, give back to the planet, to the environment, to the society, to community. We do a lot of fundraisers. We support a lot of Hawaiian, such as, for example, Mauna Kea conflict that's going on right now. We raise money to send food and basic necessities and things like that. So that's something that we always want to be a part of.
Right. So it sounds great. We're not just dealing with a company that's just all about profits. You guys align yourselves with great brands, great companies that share your value and your mission. And it shows in the people you bring on in your business. And it just shows in everything you've talked about today, Alisher. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on. So we're heading toward the end of our program here, but gosh, we could keep going on about this here. I really hear
Maybe on the next episode.
Yeah, we could do part 2. I don't know if you guys are
go.
going brick or mortar or if you guys are expanding. Who knows? Someday. But we want to segue, if you're listening to our show, to our E4Q. And the E4Q stands for the exclusive 4 questions we ask all our podcast guests to get personal insight, especially from a businessman and an entrepreneur like yourself. So we have our 4 questions. Question number 1, Alisher, tell us a place you've traveled or an adventure you have taken in your life that you feel every man should experience once.
Oh, man. That's a good one. I would probably say every guy should experience ice fishing.
Ice fishing?
Yeah.
Where did you do that?
Montana. Yeah.
So how long ago was this?
Oh, that was a couple of years ago. Me and my buddies would always go on the trip, and I think that everybody should at some point experience, especially guys, because majority of the guys, and I think fishing is fun, and hunting is fun, but when you're sitting in the middle of the frozen lake or a river and you hear ice is cracking and you're like, oh man, I would lie to you if I said I wasn't freaking out and try to run across onto a bank multiple times, be like, I think this is about to fall down. But so it's all seriousness. I think I always bring that as an example, the pike fishing that we did in Montana, and it was probably below 10 degrees, and it was just, it was frozen. It was literally frozen.
Was this for just one day, one night, or did you guys camp out on the lake and everything?
We did camp out. So we did camp out. We spent the night. Yeah, it was really cold. It was probably the coldest I've ever been in my life. I was layered in clothing, and obviously there was a lot of good drinking involved to keep ourselves warm.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's probably one of the things. I think if you want to get few buddies together and experience that nature and test your waters, I
Yeah.
should say, ice fishing is
Ice
always
fishing.
a good one.
All right, that's one
Yeah.
for the books right there. Now, question number 2, Alisher. Tell us a skill you possess or you wish you possessed that every man should possess.
Oh man, skill. Man, I don't know if it's a skill, but you got to be a go-getter. I think, in some sense, some people say it's a hustler mentality. I think me growing up where I grew up, I always had to hustle for things that I try to get. Nothing was ever given to me, and maybe it's just the society or that kind of decade of growing up in the 90s. Yeah, nowadays, they say, oh well, this new generation, they feel like they're entitled to things, and which I don't necessarily believe.
Right.
I think these kids that are growing up, they're really smart, they're really savvy, they use technology to their best ability. So anybody and anyone that's knocking on the guy that's making good income playing video games or selling on eBay or Amazon, it's like, don't knock the hustle.
Right.
Something that I wish I had is probably more patience.
Patience. Sounds like you have
Yeah.
a pretty good amount of patience, though. Like you taking no, okay.
No,
I want to
I'm
talk to
not
your
a
wife
patient
about
person.
that.
Yeah, I'm not a patient person. You ask anybody.
Oh, yeah?
I want it now, and I want it now. And so,
okay.
but the thing is, it's also, I think it could be a flaw, but at the same time, it could be a good positive, simply because people that are not patient want to get things done.
Right.
They don't want to wait. And so I think I would love to have more patience, and I think my kids are teaching me to be more patient.
Exactly.
Such as also a business. In certain aspects of a business, you have to be patient. You can't rush things. But at the same time, if you sit and wait, in other aspects of the business, you might get the worst of that. So I think it's just it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, and I take it as it goes.
Right.
So
that's an honest assessment. And so number 3 question, give us an app on your phone that you use regularly that you feel every man should use.
Oh man.
And I asked this question because I know a lot of guys into their 30s and 40s, they kind of get away from the technology, but
yeah,
we're talking and asking these questions for so many people. It's amazing how many great apps are out there that are free that can help us all out. And I just want to ask this question to you. Is there an app you like?
I am huge into things like Forbes, Entrepreneur. I have few apps that I read on the daily just to kind of keep my focus on learning more about business. I read a lot of Entrepreneur magazine, one of my favorites, for just kind of reading about people innovating things and learning business just like I do, learning about mistakes and how that happens. I'm huge into podcasts. Now that I drive, I tend to not listen to music. I listen to podcasts. My favorite is How I Built This. But at the same time, I'm on Instagram searching for ideas, looking at other businesses. And I think that nowadays, platforms like Instagram and Facebook, you can learn a lot just by looking at other businesses, how they promote their business, how they use that platform. You could learn a lot. And so, so those things I'm kind of on a daily. I always look and read and try to get a little bit more ideas.
Yeah, and we mentioned that a lot, is to get on Instagram. And I've said this on pretty much every episode of everybody coming on, is that it doesn't have to be just about the food you ate or the new car that you bought or the new pair of shoes you want. You can really follow. You can follow Forbes magazine or Entrepreneur magazine. You can follow The Rock, who has all these people following him. He posts so much inspirational stuff, his workouts.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's stuff to get into, and you can't do that. I mean, heck, we couldn't do that 20 years ago. It's like, so being able to do that and get that information like that through an app like that is awesome. So our last question, number 4, Alisher, what piece of advice right now would your older self give your younger self, let's say 10 years ago?
I would say don't waste time and try things. just simply because I wish I did more things that were a lot more meaningful, whether it's experience with work or experience with business or started another business or things like that. So anybody that's maybe listening that who are in their 20s, don't let anybody tell you that you're too young or you don't know anything, because nobody knows anything. It's one of those things where you might be an expert, but I always tell people there's no such a thing as 100% expert in something. So there are always those that would miss things, and you might know a good amount about something, but you cannot know everything. And so, yeah, just don't let anybody knock you down for being young or for being, may not be a pro, right? So to me, I think that it has nothing to do with the talent. It has nothing to do with how much you want it. It has nothing to do with being rich. It has everything to do with being persistent.
That's a great end. We're going to end with that. So, guys,
Yeah.
out there listening, it's all about persistence, right? Alisher, thank you for joining us on this interview. Now, guys who are listening, everybody, make sure you follow Island Blends Acai on Instagram and Facebook, so you can also know their latest schedule. You guys travel a lot now. Where are you located around now? Seattle, Bellevue?
Yeah, we do a lot of events. Obviously, this is a prime time. We now doing a lot more corporate catering, such as if your company is doing, I mean, let's be honest, coffee and donuts is so 1990s. It's so boring. Your company is probably trying to encourage you to go to the gym and paying your healthcare costs just simply so that you guys can stay healthy and active. They're not doing it just because they want to pay for your membership. They want to do it because they don't want to pay your health insurance costs and premiums. So a lot of companies now hiring us to cater their business events and business breakfasts and saying, hey, we're having a meeting. Can you guys bring 100 acai bowls, and can we do that? So we're doing a lot of that, but we also have a regular schedule. For example, every other Friday, we're at Westlake Center, right in downtown. On Mondays, we service Starbucks HQ, Starbucks headquarters. So we're in Soto. On Thursdays, we're at North Creek Business Park in Bothell. So we get a lot of people from locally come out. So yeah, we're also at a Hellbent Brewery on every other Wednesday night. So if you're trying to grab a great beer and a poke bowl, we're always there. So, awesome. But yeah, if they log onto the islandblendsacai.com, we have a 30-day schedule. You can either book your event or look at our schedule and stop by the truck. So
guys, check it out. And Alisher, once again, thank you for coming on our show. And yeah, we're going to have you on again and have another good talk about entrepreneurship. Thank you again for coming on, Alisher.
Man. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Radley. I appreciate it. Hey, if anyone's listening, check out the podcast. This is awesome. This is what every guy should be listening to. There's some awesome information. So cool. I'm a big fan.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Alisher. You have a good night.
All right.
Guys, two things. First, I want some acai and a poke bowl. And second, I respect how Island Blends Acai not only provides quality food, but also cares globally about our environment. They care about waste, and they align themselves with vendors that share the same philosophy. Teamwork truly makes the dream work. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. And until then, go out there and make it happen.
Thank you for listening to the Expert Advice for Men podcast with your host, Belltown Radley. If you enjoyed our show, make sure to rate it 5 stars, leave a positive comment, and share it with your friends. Your support means everything. Until next time, this is the Expert Advice for Men podcast.